Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be reviewing slash testing the BH Rose Quartz 9-piece brush set. Now I received this as a gift for Christmas because I was totally excited to try this. I'd seen people mostly using like these two brushes, I think it is, and I totally wanted to try them. So I have them all laid out and I'm going to show you guys like each one, and then we're going to go into the review section. So this is brush one. It's an angled contour brush. It's very soft, but like it's probably the most dense brush in this set. Like it still has like a bit of density. It's not just going to splay out completely flat, but this is just supposed to be for your contour, that kind of thing. I have used one set of brushes on each side of my face, like what I normally use, opposite like the new brush set. So we're going to be able to then compare and see which one's better. So this is number two. This is just supposed to be a powder brush. This one is much more fluffy, as like you can see, very soft. So now this is number three, and I didn't know, like I looked at it when I got it out before I'd like read the back to see what they're supposed to be, and I didn't think this was going to be a highlighter brush, but yeah, it's definitely supposed to be a highlighter brush. To me it's a little big for a highlighter brush. Like you have to think like placement, she says, like putting it under her glasses, like it is quite big. It takes up loads of your face, like you're not wanting all the highlight covering your blush. But you'll see like how I use it and how it looks when we test them out. So this is number four, and it's supposed to be like a deluxe blending brush. You can see it's a lot smaller and circular. I use this to like do my eyes, like powder under my eyes, but I also use this as well to test blush. So you'll see what I think of that because it's much smaller than the brush I normally use. This kit also comes with 5 eye brushes. This is number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9. Number 5 is like a dense crease brush. It is like very dense, you can tell, like it's not too soft and fluffy. It is like quite circular as well. It's not like fitted to the crease like some of the other brushes I have are. So number 6 is a tapered blending brush. It's much softer than that, so I think this would be something that you'd use more for like a transition, something like that, because you're not going to get like as dense a pigment and you're not going to be able to kind of keep it necessarily as focused as you would with a more dense brush. Number 7 is a precision crease brush. Now this one I would say is a little more dense than number 6, but it's also a lot smaller, so you are definitely going to be able to fit that into your eye socket a lot more than the other brush. Number 8 is like a flat shader brush. Apparently you're not going to be able, though in my opinion it's too fluffy and like dense for you to be able to like pack any pigment like flat on the lid, like any shimmer or anything like that. To me this reminds me of the Urban Decay Naked 2 brush that I use for eye primer. And this is number 9. It's supposed to be like a detailing brush. To me this is like a good pencil brush for like doing like your brows, like carving your brows out. It would be good for like doing it in a corner highlight or maybe even like a liner on the lid. That to me is what this brush is meant for. So all those brushes retailed for £19, which I think is really good. It's less than £2. That's not true. It's only just over £2 a brush. It's like £2 and 5p a brush, which, I'm not being funny, is a great price. I'm excited to try these out and show you guys like what I think in comparison to my other brushes, if I'm going to be swapping some out, which ones I don't think are that useful, because there's always at least like one brush in a brush set that you get that you're never actually going to use, but you get the brush set for the other brushes, you know. So if you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel before you leave, and if you press that notification bell you'll be notified every time I upload. So I've slicked my hair back like last time with this. I'm actually loving slicking my hair back with this at the moment. It's just making makeup application so much easier. But I put on my foundation, which I've used the MAC Studio Sculpt in NC15, I want to say. I'm also wearing the Collection Lasting Perfection Concealer. Now, I didn't use the brushes to apply any of this simply because I don't think any of the brushes were like meant for that purpose. None of them are dense enough to be buffing out a foundation or a concealer under your eyes. I know that the number 2 brush is like supposed to be used for powder, but I think I'll use this on my cheeks. I do not think it's dense enough to like pack on the powder under the eyes that I need to set this concealer. I think the number 4 is definitely much more likely to be for that. I think I'm going to use the number 4 for something else as well, but if it's just powder I can then go straight into like another more like pigmented product and it'll be fine. So I am just going to set my eyes with the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless powder, and then just going to set, like I always set like the full eye. I feel like this is like the perfect shape actually to just be setting the under eye. It's not quite as dense as I'm used to. It is still like very soft. I'm then going to set the other eye with my normal brush. So normally I use this Studio powder brush. I use it for my eye and my cheeks. So I am just going to take the Maybelline Fit Me and set this eye. Now this is so much bigger, so you are literally setting your eye much faster by using a bigger powder brush like this. It is a bit more dense, but I still find it quite soft. It needs a wash like desperately. I feel like the smaller brush kind of helped not take away coverage. I feel like by kind of like packing it on like this, I don't feel like I've lifted as much product as I did using the other brush. So to me, this has worked a little better, like under the eyes. I mean, I'm always going to have these dark circles, like they're so dark there isn't anything covering that. However, I feel like this has lifted a little less product. I am, however, going to use the number 2 brush to set my cheeks, and then we'll use again the same Studio powder brush on this side. Now, I'm using my Quartz Bun powder, and I always tip powder into the lid and then pick it up from the lid. I like to give my brush like a thorough coating because I know the Studio brush always gets like a proper thorough coating. And then just set the cheek. Like this just feels so much less dense. Like really soft, really fluffy. So I've coated my Studio powder brush. And this just sets the cheek so much quicker just because it is so big. So I suppose like those are things to be considered, like this just sets everything. But I also have the one brush for both. So what you then have to consider is if you're using like a tinted powder on your cheeks and like a translucent powder for under your eyes because you're extra like I am, you are going to have to get an extra brush to then set your eyes with. I am trying to use the same like stippling technique each time with a powder brush because I know that's how I normally set my face. I want it to be exactly the same technique on both sides so you can see the actual performance of the brush. I actually feel that this cheek, like to the touch, feels a bit better set. I feel like this cheek, like I'm gonna have to go in with like more powder even though I coated the brushes exactly the same, I dipped in exactly the same. And because of that, the uneven distribution of the powder, it kind of has this little bit more of like a patchy moment going on. I am just gonna go over with this brush because I'm actually enjoying it more. I feel like I definitely got a better distribution of powder with it. Now, the brush that I'm most looking forward to, I have tried this like once before because I was just so desperate to play with it, to be honest, when I got the kit. So I took out like brush 1. This is supposed to be for like powder, contour, like bronzer moment. And it is fairly dense actually in comparison, as you can see. It's like the other brushes. They're all quite fluffy, but this is like equally as soft. So I think I am going to use it for contour today. So I am going to go in with this shade here in the Revolution Pro HD Powder Contour Palette. Stipple it in as before, just press, press, press. I've gone on to the wrong side. I definitely feel like I'm getting really precise application. I always find my contour comes down quite far and then I have to carve it out, which is adding excess powder, which I don't always like want to do. Like this is really good placement wise. Like I'm really liking the shape of this brush. And then I'm gonna use it taking up here and just blending up. It's got a little bit of a patchy moment, so I think I need to just build that up a bit more, just to kind of like, as I blended, I've lifted product. So I don't know if like blending wise this is working. It's less patchy now. In my mirror it looks far less patchy and really nice. It looks quite patchy on camera, but I honestly don't see that in the mirror. So the brush that I have been using at the moment has been this brush, and it is completely different to the brush we just used on this side. Completely different. So I'm going to go in with the same product, just coat the brush. I feel like different techniques here are because of different brushes. I don't feel like I can always use the same technique. For anyone interested, this is the Real Techniques Under Eye Setting Brush. I feel like this is good for like pulling product down. Kind of if you want like a super straight line, you can have that with this. This is good for like if you want to like chisel out like a darker contour in the muddy streak I have going on this face. Thinking about it, this side could be a bit patchy because it wasn't set so evenly. I'm not having like a patchy moment on this side. I am just going to veil this by just taking some of that excess powder. Do you see how that's just less of a muddy streak, you know. I definitely feel like I preferred the BH Cosmetics brush. I just feel like it's just given a bit more of a blown out contour, which I like, whereas this is just not what I prefer. So I'm going to go in with the number 4 brush again, because I don't have any other brush in this set that to me looks like I would use it for blush, unless you're willing to like spot clean your brushes between uses, like I'm not. Then I'm not going to use that for like multiple products. So I am just going to go in with the number 4 brush into my L'Oreal Life's a Peach blush. This is not the typical shape brush I would actually use for blush. I don't feel like I could get like a smooth blend. Although this is what this is supposed to be for. This is supposed to be, you know, like a blending brush. So yeah, because we started with this side, I think this is the side we are going to keep as the BH side, even though I used the wrong contour brush. That is actually looking fairly pretty. Like I didn't expect this to look as pretty as it does. I did use like a placement technique here and then blending outwards up here. I don't like to put like too much pigment up here. I'm not mad about that. That looks very pretty. So this is another studio brush. These all came in a set. I think this is supposed to be used for like angled contour or something. However, I like it as like a blush brush. So again, I've coated the brush. It's quite easy to go over the top with a bigger brush like this. I'm now having to dip again because I don't feel like I'm getting the same colour payoff. And then buffing and dragging it upwards. I feel like this one has definitely like worked better for me actually than that BH brush. I feel like the pigment's more there. I definitely feel like, although I had to dip in a second time with both brushes, I feel like I've definitely got much more of that pink flush that I wanted. Like you can see the difference. You still have a little bit of a hue there. So I think it depends on like what you like, but to me, I feel like I've had to work less hard with this brush to get the colour payoff that I wanted. So, highlight. This is not the shape of any highlight brush I have used before. Like, it is huge. My Lux Powder Fusion brush has like a very similar shape, but it is tiny in comparison. I think this is going to give you a bit more of like a dispersed like highlight moment. So for you gals that like a bit more of a natural highlight, I can see why this would be pretty. So for highlight today, so we could see like placement and the colour is going to be a bit different. I thought it would be fun to go for like a more purpley toned highlight. I don't feel like I do this enough, and I love this highlight. So this is the MUA Shimmering Highlight Powder in Pearlescent Sheen. I'm just going to go in with like a light coat. Normally I like place product down and then I have to blend, but I feel like this is going to be a nice, already like blended highlight. Like immediately you can see that it is a gorgeous highlight. I don't feel like I'm having a lot of trouble keeping it focused where I want it. But this is a very, very flimsy brush. But that already feels like melted into the skin. I don't feel like I have to work very hard with this brush to melt into the skin. I always highlight above my brow bone as well. So let's say this brush is probably going to be a bit big for that. No, again, it's just melted like straight into my makeup. That is very pretty. I'm actually really enjoying this brush. So again, next we're going to go in with the Lux Powder Fusion brush. Swirl as many times. Oh, look at that though. That is so pretty. The way I was applying before was exactly like this with the bigger brush. And I definitely feel like I get like a bit more of a tighter placement with this brush. Yeah, I don't feel like I feel like I could see the edges more with this brush. I don't feel like I see where my skin ends and the highlighter begins with the other brush. So I feel like I do have to work a touch more on blending, but I feel like I've got like a brighter highlight because of it. Like this has definitely made a more intense highlight. Would it be extra to use like 2 brushes for highlight, where I like use one for placement and then one for just like that blended sweep moment? This is going to be one of those like videos where I end up just using all the brushes under the sun on my daily, and then I'm going to have 1,000 brushes that I have to wash. And I'm not good at washing my brushes to begin with. But yeah, I definitely like them for different things. I feel like the Lux Powder Fusion brush definitely gives you a more bright, bold highlight. I feel like the BH number 3 brush gives you that more diffused, melted highlight look. I'm going to take a soft, fluffier brush actually. Initially I was going to go in with a number 5, but that is a bit more dense. So I am going to take the number 6, which is much fluffier. I'm going to take my Revolution Goddess of Love Triple Baked highlighter and just go in with that. I definitely think fluffier for me, for like, this is the way to go. So I literally sat here for about 10 minutes after I did my brows looking through my brush collection and seeing what my most similar brushes were to these. So the number 5, I kind of matched most closely with my Boots double-ended eyeshadow brush. Now these are kind of both soft tapered blending brushes. This is the number 6. So this is quite fluffy. It is a bit more circular at the end, whereas the R39 by Morphe is a bit more oval shaped, but it is just as soft. Now the most similar brush I had to the number 7, which is a precision crease brush, is my e.l.f. detailed crease brush. So with the number 8, I found my closest one was the brush from my Urban Decay Naked 2 palette. So my number 7 smudger brush, which I use quite a bit actually, you know, for just packing colour in and then buffing out for like a really detailed like crease moment. To me is like the most similar to number 9. Now the ones that I don't have replacements for in this kit that I use a lot, my number 7 eye colour brush. I don't see any kind of flat shader brush that I would, you know, pack colour onto the lid with. And this one, this is the Morphe M433. This is like super soft, and it's the thing that I use for blending out my crease, but that isn't quite so big to buff the colour out. So I'm going to use today the Beauty Bay Evolve 42 colour eyeshadow palette. Mine is filthy, please ignore that. I'm just going to add an eyeshadow base, just some of my MAC Paint Pot in Soft Ochre. I always apply this to the lid with my finger. Always, always, always set my lid. So I'm going to go in with the BH number 8 brush into base 1 and just press it across the lid. And then on the other eye, I'm going to use my Urban Decay Naked 2 palette brush. I suppose if you think about it, you then have to own the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette to have this brush. I see absolutely no difference whatsoever. You could use either if you already own the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette and you're not like one of those people that uses the brushes out of those. They're great normally, like brushes like that are quite good for like setting your lid. If you don't and you pick up this brush kit, then that's a great brush for that. So next I'm going to set out like a really diffused base. I'm not going to be doing a complicated look today, I'm not feeling that life. However, I am going to try and use every single brush. So I am going to take the number 6 crease brush and dip into transition 2. I did this for like a more blown out moment. Like this is super soft. You're not going to get any kind of precise placement with this brush, but I am really enjoying it. It does well just to like place a transition colour, like if you want it super blown out. So my equivalent was the Morphe R39, which I absolutely love for my transition. I do find, however, that it can go real dark real quick because it isn't always fluffy enough to kind of blend the line out as well as it has here. I mean, I'm just like heavy-handed and don't know how to take it easy sometimes. Like this fits like really nicely in the crease, whereas the circular kind of moment that was going on with the other brush didn't fit quite so snugly in the crease, so you couldn't concentrate your colour quite as easily. So I definitely feel like I picked up more pigment with one dip with the number 6, but had to go in and build with an R39, which depends on kind of what you're going for, how confident you are with eyeshadow as to how that works for you. Personally, I kind of think I prefer the R39 for what we've just done, you know. So with the number 5 and the Boots double-ended eyeshadow brush, I'm going to go in to crease 2. I think I'm going to like follow this paint my numbers moment going on. And just circular motions, then pull into the crease. Like, it's a little big for a precise crease brush. Especially if you have like medium to smaller eyes like I do. I don't have like huge eyes with a lot of eyelid space. So the problem is with the Boots brush, it is just so big. It's not a brush that I would normally associate with the crease. I kind of feel like I like them both fairly equally, apart from the fact that I lost a little bit of control here because I was just there like blending, chatting. Yeah, so I'm thinking I'm going to take liner 6 with the number 7 brush, just a little bit, just because again it is quite fluffy. I do not need it spraying everywhere. Always remember to tap off the excess on every brush you use. I think that just adds a nice little bit of depth actually, like that is the right shape for doing that. I haven't pulled the colour too far upwards. You can still see the previous colour I used. Like, I'm really liking this brush. Like, and it's not the brush that I gravitated towards at first, but I really like it. So I feel like because this is a bit more dense, it's just blended like a touch better. Like, I definitely feel like going in here, I've had a bit of an easier time blending. I think looking at the overall eye look at this point, I feel like because the BH ones are softer, maybe not as broken in, I'm getting a little less pigment on this side. I feel like with the number 5, however, I would literally pick up too much shadow, place it there, and then you have to work quite hard at blending it out because it was so dense. To do the rest, I'm going to have to put my kind of glitter colour on. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my finger with like both eyes to put on the pop, which is this colour, and then I will be right back and we will try out the brushes for the liner. Like I said, I'm then going to dip into the liner with the number 9 brush and do like a little bit of like a smoked out shadow line just across the lash line. This works pretty well for this, I must say. I quite like that, to use shadow as liner. That to me looks very effective. I absolutely love that brush for this. I feel like it's going to be much better than this is. I feel like I'm going to make a right mess with the number 7 smudger brush. But then you should be able to use it to like smudge out liner, if you know what I'm saying. I definitely feel like you have to be more careful. I'm not getting as much pigment close to the lash line as I would like, and I feel like the number 9 brush has done much better than this for that purpose. I feel like the way I use this, however, is different from the way I use this. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, this would be better for like, you know, liner, but this one, the number 7 one, would be better for like placing that colour directly into the crease and then buffing it out, you know? I've just kind of used the number 9 brush to try and save the liner of the other eye because I have to go out like this, you know? So I think what I'm going to do now is add a little bit of liner, some mascara, and my lips, and we'll be right back and I will talk about which brushes I preferred for what. So I finished up my look. I just used the LA Girl Glide On Gel Liner in brown, buffed out my lower lash line with the number 7 brush in the kit actually. That worked pretty well. My lipstick is the Ciate Lip Velvet in Pin-Up and my mascara is Benefit Bad Gal Bang Bang. Now back on to the brushes. So I think I'm going to kind of go through each brush and say whether I preferred it to the brush I tried, and if so, like what I would use it for, what I think it was good for. So I did quite enjoy this for contour. I think it would also be a good like brush for bronzer. This is brush 1. So number 2, I like it for like buffing away excess like fallout under my eyes. I like it for like blending my product, you know, when I am veiling. I do kind of like it for setting my face as well. I think I prefer it for setting my cheeks rather than veiling. I think the Studio one is probably just as good for veiling. However, I do quite like this, and if you only have one, I think it's good for both. The number 3, I like it for like a more diffused highlight look. I feel like if you want like to kind of have like a concentrated brighter highlight, then this isn't like the perfect brush for that. I think a more diffuse look is what this is really good for. 4, I like it for setting the under eyes. I think it's very similar to the Studio for that. I don't see a huge amount of difference. It's not my favourite blush brush in the world. I think for like blending it out, it wouldn't be the worst brush ever, but it's not the best blush brush I've ever used. I don't see myself like reaching for this a huge amount. Number 5 is the dense kind of crease brush. It's a little, almost too dense. It is nice and it fits kind of well here, but it's not like super fitted. I prefer like a dense brush that is a little bit like flatter, not quite so round. That is kind of what my style works with. Otherwise, I think this is a decent crease brush. It's not my most favourite brush ever. I don't see myself reaching for it over some of my better shaped crease brushes. The number 6 I do quite like for like buffing out harsh edges with my makeup. I don't think I will use it much as a transition brush. I didn't like it that much as a transition brush, but for like buffing my edges out, I think it's going to work a lot better for me than the previous brush I was using. The number 7 was fine for like buffing out my lower lash line. I think that's what I would use it for, more so than like as a crease brush. Like the e.l.f. Detail crease brush worked for me much better. I feel like it's just too soft for that, but for a nice like blown out lower lash line, it works very well. The 8 is absolutely fine for setting the lid. I don't feel like you need any kind of special brush for setting the lid though, but it comes with a kit, so it is fine for setting the lid. I really like the number 9 for setting your mascara. Not mascara, what am I on about? I really like the number 9 for like a shadow liner. I absolutely love it. I don't feel like it's too smudgy, like I don't feel like you've got a too smudged out liner. I'm not a massive fan of that look. I think it is really good for that. I think you could probably use it as like an inner corner highlight brush as well, but you wouldn't be able to obviously use it for both at the same time. Or you'd end up with a glittery liner or like a really dark inner corner highlight, which is why I didn't use it for both. I feel like it would also be good possibly for highlighting the brow bone as well, but I think that's something I would have to like work on like trying in the future, as I didn't do that this time. So that's what I think of the brush kit. Do I think it's worth it? Yes, I do. I think it's a great brush kit and I'm definitely going to get a lot of use out of these brushes. I feel like some I'm definitely going to use more than others. Do I think you should pick it up? Yeah, I'd totally say give it a go. They're really soft and they feel like a decent quality brush. Can't speak to how long lasting they are, but I really enjoyed using them and I think it's a really good affordable brush kit. So if you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel before you leave. And if you press that notification bell, you'll be notified every time I upload. Thank you for watching.